Follow me into the jungle.
Scope. What is up, Bengals fam? It's your boy Mike coming back at you with another Who Daily. Not a happy Monday, right? The Bengals lost to the Steelers on their home opener. Final score 23-20. Look, there's a lot of silver lining here, but let's not look past. It's bad to lose to your division, to any division opponent at home, ever. You have to, if you want to be a championship team, you've got to take care of business at home all the time. That's what, the best teams do. The best teams win their home games, whether it's a division game or not, but definitely those division games. But there's precedent with teams starting off this bad or worse and going on even to win the Super Bowl in the past. So I'm not gonna, go too far into it. But let's take a look at the game recap, look at some of the stats. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. I mean, it just seemed like in the first half, every time they got the ball, they were turning the ball over. They're just giving it right back to Pittsburgh. And the fact that the turnover margin was -5 in favor of Pittsburgh. They got 5 gifted possessions that the Bengals just said, "Hey, here you go." If you watch the game, the Steelers weren't moving the ball very well, right? Like, if you take a look at this, yeah, there's the 5 turnovers, right? But that the Bengals had. But the Bengals had more first downs. 13. The Steelers had 13. The Bengals had 32 first downs. If you just look at passing first downs, the Bengals had 22 against Pittsburgh's 4. If you look at third down efficiency, the Bengals were 8 of 16 on third downs for a 50% efficiency rate. The Steelers were 4 of 15, right? Total plays, the Bengals dominated the time of possession. They had the ball for 43 minutes of this football, almost 44 minutes of this football game, versus 26 minutes for the Steelers. The only stat line, I mean, if you look at the rushing yards, the Steelers had 75 versus 133 for the Bengals. The only thing that you look at that the Steelers did well was they turned the ball, they turned over Joe Burrow specifically, and they were able to take advantage of their opportunities when they got the ball deep in the Bengals' territory. But as far as the Steelers' offense, I'll put it to you this way: the Steelers should be very worried. If you're a Steelers fan, first of all, what are you doing here? Stop watching these. Second of all, you should be worried about this team's offense, because I know the Bengals' defense is very good. Like, don't get it wrong. This was a battle of 2 of the best defenses in the league. But Joe Burrow in the second half started to figure it out, and you can see that in his stat line. I mean, he ended up going 33 for 53, 338 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, the 4 picks and the lost fumble. Obviously, one of those picks was thrown right into the belly of T.J. Watt. There's not really anything any quarterback can do for that, because the reason I don't assign that as a Joe Burrow it's Joe Burrow's fault. Think of it this way: the quarterbacks, when you judge a quarterback when he drops back to pass, what you want to see him do is get through his progressions on time and hit the open receiver. Well, Joe Burrow did that. The open receiver was Hayden Hurst in the flat in that play, and he went to go check down to Hayden Hurst, and probably was going to be a 7-8 yard gain right there. It just so happens T.J. Watt's a freak, jumped up over top of La'el Collins and caught the ball in his gut, basically. He may be the only guy in the league that makes that play. So, hard to hold that one against Joe Burrow. There was, there were 2 interceptions I would really say were his fault. The other 2 kind of fluky type ball bouncing weird plays, right? So, there was an argument. Joe Burrow needs to clean up his game. Absolutely needs to clean it up. You cannot go flinging the ball into that tight of coverage all the time. He's a confident guy. You don't want to handcuff him. You don't want to tell him to throw the ball away a lot, because you don't want him that in his process. You want him to extending plays and making big plays. That's just the way it's going to be. He's always going to be a quarterback who's going to take hits. He's going to take more sacks than you're comfortable with. He is going to throw the ball into windows you're not comfortable with, but he's going to win you games because of it. In fact, this game, despite everything we've just talked about, 5 turnovers, all the interceptions, the offense kind of looking like that offensive line looked like a line that had never played together before. It's not that they were all bad. In fact, if you look at if you look at the PFF grades, they didn't grade out that bad. It's just right at the worst times they were getting beat in one-on-one matchups, and it didn't seem like on a lot of some of these more complicated blitzes they got fooled a couple times. A couple of just this is a result of this line not having played together very often, but. Especially in the second half, La'el Collins started to settle in to being able to. It's the first time he's ever. Maybe not the first time. I have to look it up. I'm not sure if he's gone one-on-one against T.J. Watt before and how that went, but I can tell you he's not done it a lot. And so I could tell watching through the game, he started to pick up on what T.J. Watt likes to do. He started to play a little better, and that was the case for most of the offensive line. Ted Karras and Alex Kappa are as advertised. By that I mean they are league average interior offensive linemen, and that's how they played. I would say maybe slightly above league average because interior offensive linemen in today's NFL are bad. So they played pretty well. Now Cordell Volson had some growing pains, and you'll have that when you're going against Cam Hayward. What it looked like was Cam Hayward's way stronger than him, and by the way, Cam Hayward's way stronger than most people. He's a big, strong dude. The problem is the Steelers came in with a plan to try to isolate Cordell Volson against Cam Hayward as many times as they could based on the formation. The Bengals did not help themselves out because they were very predictable in their formation and play selection. When they were under center, 75% of the time they ran the football. When they were in shotgun, 75% of the time they threw the ball. That's too predictable, and that makes it easy not just for the defensive backs to know what's coming and allows the safeties to come down whenever you're under center. That also makes it so the defensive line knows what you're trying to do, and they have a good idea of what you're going to be trying to do and how you're going to be trying to block them, and therefore they can create mismatches, which is Cordell Volson one-on-one against Cam Hayward is a mismatch. And again, I'm not bashing Cordell Volson. The dude's a rookie, and this is his first NFL game action after having played at a D3 school or whatever, so I'm not bashing him for this. I'm just saying it's going to take him some time to understand what he needs to do physically to make up that skill gap, right? And I'm not saying he can't do it, and in fact a lot of offensive linemen do this. They come in, they're not as athletic. If you just look across the board, offensive linemen typically aren't as athletic and quick and powerful as the defensive linemen they're going up against, especially the farther away from the center you get. T.J. Watt is a freak athlete, no matter, and that's not for a defensive end. He's a freak athlete for a human being, period. Now, all these guys pretty much are, but if you look at La'el Collins, he's just not. You can tell he's just not as quick. He's got to use his brain. He's got to use his technique, and he's got to trust trust the rest of his offensive line and his running backs and the tight end to make sure they have a good plan to block this guy, because doing it one-on-one all the time is not really going to help. Same thing with Cordell Volson. The Bengals did a poor job in comparison game planning to give Cordell Volson help, which is what they should have done. If the option is for your center to help the veteran on the right side or the rookie on the left side, it should always be, hey man, Cam Hayward's lined up over top of Cordell for this snap. I'm shifting protection over. The center's going to go over and double. I would have been double teaming him the whole game. They did double team him a few times, but it was just scheme specific. And what this game really looked like is Mike Tomlin came in with a specific game plan to beat this Bengals team on this day. The Bengals came in with a game plan to win a football game against a team, and you can see which one worked out better. Now, I don't think Joe Burrow is going to be throwing 4 interceptions. He probably won't do that for the rest of his career. I don't think you're going to also see the Bengals defense go an entire game. They also went an entire game without doing anything to take the ball away from the Steelers. Them not getting a takeaway, that's pretty difficult. I don't think they're going to be a lot of that. I think they're going to create their takeaways on defense. But if you look at the way the game went, the Bengals should have been down by 20 at halftime. They weren't. This is a team that can withstand these kinds of mistakes, and it's because of their defense, and they're because they have the defense in order to keep them in games. And Joe Burrow with Joe Burrow throwing the ball and running that offense, you've always got a chance, and they had several chances. By the way, when I talk about crazy, fluky stuff happening, your long snapper getting hurt, and thus you having to put a backup tight end to long snap, and look, that resulted. You can say what you want. When they had to replace their long snapper, they missed two game-winning field goals after that. Well, one was an extra point, one was a field goal. They missed two of them in a row. Now I'm of the mind that says that extra point was getting blocked no matter who's snapping the football. That was just a good scheme to get a free rusher on the left side, and the Bengals just completely whiffed it. I think it was Hayden Hurst on that side blocking. It was Hayden Hurst and Akeem Adeniji. Those two guys need to have their hips connected. Never let the rule on field goals. Never allow an inside rusher. You can allow that. They could allow Minkah Fitzpatrick to circle around the outside because he would never get there in time to block that field goal. But you can't let him rush straight on the inside of you, which is what Hayden Hurst did. He took a step outside. By then it was too late. He couldn't recover. Minkah Fitzpatrick was already by him blocking the extra point. That field goal, hot take right now, I don't care from that distance. I don't care if they replace the football with a rock that's shaped like a football and they have me out there snapping to myself and holding it. If Evan McPherson gets a foot on that football, it needs to go through the uprights. Period. That's too close of a football. That's too close. You could toe kick it from that distance and just kick it straight through on a line drive. The issue that's a number one top of the board for me. McPherson, you're a freak. You're a freak kicker. Bengals fans want to crown you as the best kicker in the league. Freak kickers got to do freak things, which means sometimes the laces aren't exactly where you need them to be. You still got to put that football through the uprights. Period. That's what it is. Second of all, Kevin Huber, you are a veteran. You are the longest tenured player on this team. It's third down. You get a shitty snap high, and you know you're not going to get it down. Fall on it and take the 4 or 5 yard loss and kick the field goal again on the second. That's the whole reason you do a third down field goal. In case that snap's bad, your veteran 15-year vet punter needs to know, hey, if I put this football down, this second-year kicker may not know or may not have the wherewithal to stop himself mid-kick and realize, hey, it's third down, we can just try this again. It's up to you, man. You're the veteran. You're the guy. Pull the ball down, go in the fetal position, wait for someone to touch you, run the play again. That's the whole reason you do it on third down. And the fact that they rushed it without a perfect snap on third down, the rule is if you kick a field goal on third down, if the exchange isn't absolutely perfect, eat it and try it again. That's the whole point. Well, it was way far from perfect. Kevin Huber almost had to stand up to catch the snap. It was so high. When he did catch it and get the ball down, it was late, which meant Evan McPherson probably saw it happening late and slowed his leg down a little bit. Also, the laces were in. All of that resulted in pulling the kick left. I'm putting that one on Kevin Huber. I do think Evan McPherson still has to make that kick, but Kevin Huber still also, these two things can and are true at the same time. Kevin Huber still needs to have the veteran wherewithal. That's why you're on the team and still here, dude. But it's Cal Adamitis season. Everybody who thought that Cal Adamitis was going to be the long snapper and Clark Harris is out of here, that's happening. Clark Harris tore his bicep. You're going to have a new long snapper. The Bengals are very fortunate, guys. They're very fortunate that they were already looking at long snappers in the offseason in case they needed to replace an already old and aging long snapper in Clark Harris. So he practiced with the team all offseason, and he was on their practice squad. I don't think there should not be any more issues as long as Cal Adamitis is healthy. As long as they have a healthy long snapper, they should be fine kicking field goals from now on. But this is a positive Bengals channel. There is some positive to talk about in this game. I like the way they fought back. They never packed it in like the Steelers did last year when the Bengals were whooping that ass last year. The Steelers did give up. They gave up in that game and just let the Bengals run away with it. The Bengals did not do that. I don't expect them to ever do that under this coaching staff, but Zach Taylor has a lot to answer for. There's a lot of weird coaching decisions and non-decisions in that game that need to be answered. Why didn't you challenge the Jamar Chase touchdown with almost 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter? That would have been a touchdown and would have given you another chance to go down and score and win before the end of the game. Why didn't there's just too much there's too much stuff. Why did you punt the ball with 15 seconds on the play clock inside a minute or inside 2 minutes of the fourth quarter when you're in overtime when you're clearly playing? It looks like you're playing for a tie, right? Just take the penalty, take 5 yards. You're already punting from the 50-yard line anyway. Take the penalty, scoot back 5 yards, punt it again. As it was, you left 15 seconds on the clock for the Steelers by punting it so early in the game or in the play clock. But then you went ahead and kicked it in the end zone anyway and gave him a touchback. So just what I mean, there's just so much stuff. I know that they didn't kick it in the end zone on purpose, but and you do have that long snapper to worry about. But it's just a lot of strange stuff. Silver lining, I don't see this. Look what it took for the Steelers to beat the Bengals. It took 5 turnovers, 7 sacks, like 12 quarterback pressures or whatever. It took their long snapper getting hurt. It took Evan McPherson missing an extra point and a field goal. The likelihood of all of that happening in the same game again is crazy low. These are weird occurrences. I'm not going to take a lot. I'm going to look at individual performances this week and see who played well and who didn't. One thing I will say that I'm a little disappointed by, Joseph Osai only got 11 snaps. I think he should be in there a little more often, but flow of the game, I get it. It happens. But do what you got to do. Get your head right. It's going to be okay. I think the Bengals are going to go and take care of business in Dallas. They're playing a backup quarterback. They should be able to win that game. So, until next time, Bengals fam, I've been Mike. This has been Who Daily. See ya.